Hey folks, I haven't really done any knife videos lately, mainly due to time constraints, but also because I have bought and sold several knives recently, probably bought more than sold, but nothing's really come across um, my path that really inspired me to get out there and talk about it, because there's so many videos out there talking about all these different knives. But I did get one today, showed up, and it's this MassDrop Falcon. This thing, I'm really impressed with it, and I just want to talk about it for a few minutes. In case you don't know, MassDrop did a collaboration where Ferrum Forge designed this knife, and then WE Knives in China built it, and MassDrop was kind of like the producer of it, I guess, brought it all together. It is a titanium flipper, frame lock. So here you can take a look at it. This was a limited run, so they only had the knife available for a short time, and this is the first knife that that MassDrop produced that has their little logo on it that they were involved in. I mean, they sell a lot of knives through their site, but this is the first one they had a hand in bringing into production. As I said, titanium frame lock flipper. And the reason I want to talk about this knife is I was blown away. The price on this knife was $125. I'm pretty sure it was $125, brand new. You ordered them. Gosh, I think we ordered them back in April, and I just got mine today. The first 500 got theirs 2 weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago, something like that. The first 500 people who ordered them, they got serial number 500 and below. The rest of us just started getting ours, and I just got mine today. And I got to tell you, man, I pulled this out of the box, and I'd read some things that people were saying kind of good and bad, but I was absolutely blown away by this knife. Given the price point and really just everything else, the fit and finish on it are just awesome. The centering, everything is just spot on. Hair there, but yeah, everything about it is just awesome. Mine did have some oil. Some people had reported an excess of oil. I had a little bit of oil around the pivot, and I think there's still some on the flipper tab, but nothing extreme. But I mean, it feels like a really solid quality knife, and the flipping action on it is just, I mean, to be honest, it's better than my ZTs, the Hinderer. Really, the only knife I have that truly compares to this thing in flipping action is the only actual Ferrum Forge knife I have. This Pretium or Pretium, however you say that. This was I think their first actual production knife that Ferrum Forge did, if I remember correctly. That was a limited run of 100 knives. I picked that up a couple of months ago. But the flipping action on this thing is just effortless. I mean, you can actually just come down, like you don't need to preload it or anything. You just come down and you can actually just kind of swipe it, and it'll go. It's beautiful, and opening via the hole, super easy, which I like. I'm kind of over the hump with flippers. I just got into flippers last year, and I've grown tired of them. I really have, and I really haven't been buying them. I don't buy anything that's really a flipper anymore. But I ordered this one back in April, and this one was really impressive to me. So let's kind of take a look at it as we have been here. Some people complained about this MassDrop logo being on the blade. I personally, I don't think it looks bad. I don't think it's any worse than like what ZT does on their knives. It's the font on it looks okay. I mean, it's just not that intrusive, and the presentation side of the knife is completely sterile. I mean, there's nothing there. It's just a great looking knife. Or I like it anyway. Ferrum Forge logo here, S30VN steel, of course. Serial number of the knife is right here. I can't remember how many of these they actually made. The pocket clip, I like the way the pocket clip looks okay. And obviously I haven't used this. I mean, I had this in my hands for like an hour. But I prefer like a bent metal clip for actual use. But I don't know. I'd have to carry this around and see how the milled one works here, or however they made this. I assume it was milled. Maybe it wasn't. I do want to bring something up real quick that I thought was kind of weird. So you had like three entities that brought this knife together. MassDrop was kind of like the producer of it. Ferrum Forge designed it, and then WE Knives made it. Well, if you look at this knife, you see two of those three, and nowhere on here is WE Knives mentioned. I thought that was kind of strange. Personally, and even if you look at the packaging, the packaging was pretty nice as well. You've got Ferrum Forge on there, model numbers, serial numbers on the box. That was kind of nice. But unless I'm mistaken, nowhere on this box do they mention WE Knives. So it's not even advertised, which is just kind of weird to me. I'll go ahead and pull this out and show you what this thing actually came into. So it came inside the box, of course, and then it had this pretty nice. You'll notice no WE on there either. Open that up, and little slip pouch, the microfiber cloth in there. It's pretty nice, really. I mean, it's better than packaging you get with like a hinderer. So yeah, I thought that was pretty nice. One ding I will give you, MassDrop. They ship these in envelopes, and as you can see, the box, I mean, there's nothing to protect it, so the box got kind of smashed in transit there. But so that's the packaging that you're getting with the knife. Pretty decent, in my opinion. Yeah, so I've talked about how it looks, just like the action on it that just kind of blew me away. You can see it has an over travel stop built in there, steel lock bar face to interface with the blade tang there. That's built in. The over travel stop is built into that. And what you'll see back behind the Falcon here is a few knives. I just kind of grabbed some randomly that I thought were kind of similar that I had handy. Because one thing about the Falcon is that you can't really tell from looking at it online is this is a pretty small knife, and reports of that were coming in as people were getting these knives delivered to them. I'm personally kind of on a small knife kick. The half track's a smaller knife. We got a small Chris Reeve and Cozy here. The Techno. This is a small Griptilian, Benchmade Griptilian with the Doug Ritter blade and Wilkins custom titanium grips. And then of course I put this back here because it's the only actual Ferrum Forge knife that I have. But let me tell you this: if you're wondering about the Falcon and whatnot, and when people say that it's too small and they don't like it, I'll show you some comparisons to some other knives here, so you can kind of get an idea of the size. In my opinion, if you are like me and you like the Chris Reeve Small and Cozy, the Falcon would be right up your alley. The Falcon is a little bit bigger than the Small and Cozy, and they kind of have a similar feel. They're both kind of beefy, and look at that. Look at the execution on that jimping here. If I can just pause for a minute, just beautiful. And they kind of, sorry, I'm getting a little distracted here, but they just kind of they nicely beveled that edge there, and this is kind of a thin blade too. It's not a real beefy like the half track is a really thick blade. I mean, it's not the thinnest blade out there, but it's I think the Doug Ritter is probably thinner, but it's a nice blade. I imagine it'll be a nice slicer. But anyway, if we can get back on track here, if I stop rambling. So there it is next to a Small and Cozy. And I think if you like the Chris Reeve and Cozy, the original size, the small one, I think you're going to like the Falcon if you can get your hands on one, because they are not a regular production knife. But I've already seen them pop up in several places on USN and Blade Forums for sale. So I mean, you will be able to get your hands on them, I'm sure. Here we have a Spyderco Techno. This one obviously has been customized with a D-Law custom backspacer there, and this is actually has a slight bronze anodization and then a stonewash finish there. But here you can see it next to a Techno. If you are a fan of the Techno, I doubt that you would say that the Falcon is too small, because the Techno is quite a bit smaller than the Falcon. So if you're a Techno fan, I think that would suit you well. We'll take a look at it next to the half track, because I really thought that the Falcon kind of fit in that vein size-wise. So there it is next to a Hinderer half track. Once again, this has been custom anodized. Thickness-wise, we'll take a look at those two. The half track is, I'm just kind of feeling it with my thumb. So the half track is thicker than the Falcon, but get a feel for them a little bit there size-wise. And then we've got a small Griptilian knife these knives are kind of pricey. The Techno, I'm sure a lot of people have experience with, and I know a lot of people have experience with a small Griptilian, maybe not with the Wilkins titanium grips or scales or whatever, but there you can see it next to a mini grip, and it's very similar in size to that. So, I mean, maybe people were just expecting the knife to be larger, because I mean, it actually, if you look at the blade profile and stuff, it actually looks like it would probably be a larger knife. But it's pretty minuscule, and kind of like the Inkosi, it does have a smaller feel in your hand though, like the Hinderer, and the Wilkin grip, Griptilian here, and then even this Techno, they're kind of wider here, so they do fill your hand a little bit better. But I think this actually has a similar feel to the small and cozy, and I don't mind it at all. I think it's nice. So if you're holding it in like a standard saber grip there, I mean, it is a little bit, but I can get a full. I have medium-sized hands, and I can get a full 4-finger grip on that. Jimping is nice right there. It's pretty aggressive, but I wouldn't say overly so. So that's just like a saber grip that you might use on this knife. If you're wanting to choke up on it, it's got this really nicely done arc there, so you can get your thumb in there for a little more pressure if you want to apply it. And then this is definitely a usable finger choil here. There is plenty of room to get your finger, very similar to the other actual Ferrum Forge knife I've got there. So you can really pinch the blade there if you were trying to do something for maybe a little bit more control. And you can see when I'm in that grip, I've got quite a bit, like an inch of the knife sticking out back there. So yeah, it's just, this is the, and you know, I buy a lot of Chris Reeve knives. I kind of collect those. That's really where I'm focusing right now. And so that's the bar that I'm kind of measuring this against. And I'm not saying this is as good as a Chris Reeve. You know, the warranty, how long it'll last, who knows? I have no idea. This is a brand new knife, new design. But this is the first one in a while, the first knife in a while that I've pulled out of the box, out of the shipping container, and messed with it for 30 seconds and really said, wow, this is something. They really did a good job with this knife. And, you know, give it a couple of weeks and maybe the bearings will start getting stiff, you know, it'll loosen up or whatever. I don't know. Maybe I'll change my mind. But my initial impressions, which is what this video is about, are extremely positive of this knife. I really like what they did with the lanyard hole there too. Yeah, just a really nice knife. I love the finish. It's kind of Chris Reeve-esque with a kind of a blasted finish. I'd say it feels a little, maybe a little smoother. It feels a little bit smoother than the Chris Reeve finish, standard blasted finish, but it's kind of a similar feel. So yeah, just give you a few more looks at it. Look how they chamfered that, even that hole there, chamfered that. There's just one of the things I like about Chris Reeve knives, and collecting like the classics and the regulars and stuff, is all the little details about them that are kind of different. And you can get, even within the same knife, like you'll get a Svenza 21, its stop pin may have two lines that go around the stop pin, and some of them don't. It's just those little details I like, and I really think they paid attention to the details on this knife too. So right now, I'm just going to kind of give you some close-ups there so you can get that light from reflecting too much on there. The blade finish, I like it. It's a little more satin than I typically like. I tend to prefer a stone wash type of finish, like that's a little more like, maybe we can see this here. You can see the Chris Reeve blade there is a little more, a little less reflective. It's easier to see it in person, but I prefer that a little bit. But this is, I would say this blade finish kind of fits in between the stone wash and the polished blade of a Chris Reeve knife. So these are just fingerprints, marks on the knife. So we'll just kind of get some close-ups of it again there. This does have a, I don't know if you'll be able to see it here well. See the stop pin in there? There you can see it. It's an internal stop pin, and there you can see the ball bearings that the blade is riding upon. And then that internal stop pin, there you can kind of see the cutout within the blade in which that rides. And you can see just, oh, whoops, I was putting pressure on the lock bar. That's why I was having a little difficulty there. Let's not do that. There we go. Yeah, it'll just fall shut. Just a beautiful flipping action on it. And that's whether you do like a light switch technique or a push button, like you could preload it, and you do not need to, but you can preload it and do like a push button. You just don't need to do that with this knife. It's just an effortless flip. I was shocked by it, honestly. Yeah. Like I said, I also, like I was kind of getting into, I don't know if I finished my thoughts there, but I like that you can open it like this, with the hole there, because like I said, I'm kind of over the whole flipper thing. The more I have them, I still have a lot of them. I just feel that they're kind of a novelty. Here we'll take a quick look at an actual Ferrum Forge knife. This is a really cool one. You can see, as I understand it, when they did this, these are kind of like a mid-tech. So these knives were kind of built, the components were built by another facility, and then they were sent to Ferrum Forge, where they fitted the parts together and kind of did some finishing. And as I understand it, when they got them, he added, like, he hand did this rocked pattern here around the scales and stuff, because he wanted a little more flair on the knife, which is awesome. This is a really, really cool knife. But I've been super impressed. This one flips like the WE knife down there does. Just an effortless, just rockets out there, and the lockup's real solid, and then you can easily also use the thumb studs. This is number 25 out of the production run of 100. But there you can see, just kind of get a glimpse of an actual Ferrum Forge knife. The only one I own, it's not to say I don't want more, because they're Master Blaster. I love that Master Blaster. And then I also had one more knife here. Just some of these are, they're a little pricey. They range from the low 100s and up, as you know. If you're watching this, I'm sure you know that. And here it is next to an Ontario Rat 2, just in case you don't have an opportunity to kind of see some of these other knives. This is a very cost-effective knife. Now, I love customized, unique stuff. So this does have custom G10 scales on it, but you can get an idea anyway. Very similar in size to the Rat 2. Very similar in size, actually. I didn't even hold these next to each other until I did this. Yeah. So there you can get an idea for it. And I think people's surprise, if I had to guess, at the size of the Falcon was that it looks, when you see photographs of it, it looks like it would be a larger knife. And it's just not. And that's okay, because it just wasn't designed that way. There are plenty of options for bigger knives. So I also ordered the collaboration that they did, Ferrum Forge, WE, and MassDrop on the Gent. So I'm excited to get that knife and see how that one does too. I passed on their second one. I think it's called the Crux, because I don't know, there just wasn't anything. It was too much like my ZT808, 0808, or I don't know. There just wasn't anything about it. This one really had some cool lines, just the outline of the knife I really liked. So anyway, I'm approaching 20 minutes. I have just rambled on about this for long enough, I think. So there you go. Hopefully you found that informative. If you were kind of interested in one of these Falcons, if you're looking to pick one up on the secondary market, you will not pick mine up because it will not be for sale that I could ever see happening. But that maybe will give you an idea of what you're looking at if you do want to try and pick one up. Thanks for watching.